Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs and On the Record, coming to you from the offices of O'Brien and Levine Court Reporting. And it's Jonathan Friedman alongside Mark Z. Mark, a great day as always.
John, a lot of fun.
And our next guest up is Kevin O'Connell. Kevin, a partner at Verrill Dana. Welcome, Kevin.
Good morning.
Morning. Good to be with you.
Thank you for being here today.
My pleasure.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your firm? And I understand that you work in M&A, but work with non-competes as well. So tell us a little bit about your practice area, if you will.
So we're a full-service firm, Verrill Dana, headquartered in Portland, Maine. 90 lawyers up there, 140 overall. We have a 30-person Boston office where I work, and we have a new 22-lawyer office down in Westport, Connecticut, where we're growing our footprint throughout New England. Work mostly with the middle market, clients across industries. As you mentioned, I'm an M&A lawyer, and primarily work with family-owned businesses, privately held companies in New England and around. Across industries, really. We tend to focus more on the size of the companies rather than the industries within which they do business. And as an M&A lawyer, I see lots of employment issues, hiring and terminating folks as part of transactions, and really just in my general corporate work. So I'm happy to be here today to talk about non-competes.
So when you are working with companies, as you say, you're mostly with family businesses and small businesses, working with them in terms of advising them, do you discuss the drafting of non-competes and how to sort of plug in key people? Because Massachusetts right now and nationally, the economy is really growing, and it's very hard to retain good talent.
Sure. I get asked questions about non-competes regularly. And there are misunderstandings as to whether or not they're enforceable and when and how they should be used. But yeah, absolutely. Human resources folks are the strongest assets of many of my clients, and so I'm asked often about how can I lock up these folks, or certainly in the sale context, I'm writing a big check to this fellow. How do I make sure he sits on the sidelines for the rest of his life and doesn't come back and use the money I just gave him to open up down the street and put me out of business?
What would you feel are key as you're advising your companies, sort of the key provisions that will make these non-competes enforceable or hard to be challenged?
Sure. So the first thing I typically do for the client is explain what a non-compete is and distinguish it to the extent it's distinguishable from non-solicitations and confidentiality agreements. So there are certain things you can do, and it's probably important to set the context. In a sale context, there's a greater likelihood that an agreement, a contract, whereby you ask someone to stay out of your business would be enforced because there's been a negotiation, and just as a matter of public policy, courts understand that you wrote a big check, that you can protect that goodwill you just bought. In an employment context, it's very different. In an employment context, you're asking somebody with a true non-compete to give up their livelihood and their possibility of earning a living, and that is something that Massachusetts courts and really courts everywhere frown upon. And so it's very important, as I explain to my clients, to draft this in a way that's going to be reasonable and therefore enforceable. And courts in Massachusetts, and I think it's important to draw this distinction as well. Massachusetts has no statute that prohibits non-competes. There are some states that have passed legislation, and Massachusetts has certainly considered it before. There's a bill pending on Beacon Hill now that speaks mostly to trade secrets, but is sort of viewed by observers as another non-compete bill. But so far, the legislature has said, no, we're not going to see a need to outlaw this. Courts are sort of doing their job in terms of enforcement activity.